We're going to be talking about mid-segments. And first I just want to tell you what the theorem is. A theorem is just a rule or something that has proven to be true. And here's what it says. It says, if a segment joins the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, then the segment is parallel to the third side and half its length. Alright, here's a triangle. I know that D is the midpoint of A and B because these two lines are here. That tells you that those are the same, so this is at the midpoint. I also know that this is the midpoint of these two because I can see those markings. So those markings say that these two sides are the same, so that's at the midpoint. These markings tell me that these two parts are the same, so E is the midpoint. So first it tells me that a segment joins the midpoints. So here's the segment joining the midpoint. It says if that is true, then the segment is parallel to the third side. So these little marks right here tell you parallel, so that means that this and this are parallel. That makes sense. And it says half its length. What that means is that DE is half the length of BC. If I know that BC is 10, then I know that DE is 5, because you take whatever this is and divide by 2. If I know that DE is 4, well, I'm going to multiply by 2 to get the bigger side, so it would be 8. So let's look at some problems related to that. Okay, these problems are giving us a triangle, and they're asking us to name the segment parallel to the one given. So here's a triangle, and it says I want to know what's parallel to CD. Alright, I'm going to highlight CD. And I'm going to look and see, okay, what is parallel to it according to the picture? Well, the only one that even kind of goes the same direction is this one here. So it would be MP or PM. Alright, number 2. Okay, this one says ST is parallel to what? Well, let's highlight ST. And let's see which one kind of looks like that. Over here it's parallel. Well, that's going to be PN or NP. Either way, you can write it either way if it's not multiple choice. Let's do a couple more. Number 3 says, what is parallel to MP? Well, here's MP. So the one that kind of looks like it, oh, it's this big one here. So that must be UV or VU. And then one more of this kind. It says MP is parallel to what? Okay, here's MP. So I'm finding the one that looks like it. So that's got to be this one, which is DE or ED. Alright, here's some new problems. So first problem is just telling what side's parallel based on the picture. Another kind of problem is figuring out what the length of a different side is. So this one's saying, what is the length of BC? Alright, looking at our picture, I know that BC is a mid-segment. And what it tells me is that TR is 10. Well, I'm trying to find the smaller side. So if I want the smaller side, you divide by 2, you get 5, so 5 is the answer. Number 10, it says to find IJ. Well, I can tell that IJ is the mid-segment. It's in the middle of these. And the long side is 12. I'm looking for the short side, so I'm going to take 12 and divide by 2. Get 6, so 6 is the answer. Okay, find SR or RS. So I'm still finding the short side. Long side is 18. So I'm going to take 18. I'm going to divide by 2 to get the little one. Number 12. Again, it says WX. It's still the short side compared to this side. So I'm going to divide it by 2 to get 4. Now, it did not give you a problem like this right here, but let me just show you just to make sure that you know how to do it. Here we go. Here's some mid-segments. Let's say that this side was 10, and I wanted to know what this side was. Well, here, because I'm trying to find the bigger side, you take the smaller one and multiply by 2 to get the bigger one. So in that case, you would get 20 for the big side. The ones that we just did right here, you all divided by 2, but sometimes you multiply by 2 if you're trying to find the bigger side. Okay. Another kind of problem that you're going to see are problems like this where you have to solve for x. You still use the same property that we just talked about mid-segments, but we have to solve for x. So for number 13, this one is the mid-segment and this one's the long side. So what you do is you take the short side, you multiply by 2. So the short side is x, you multiply by 2, and you equal it to the long side. And then you just solve. So I multiplied the short one by 2. Okay? Now to solve, I'm going to subtract x on both sides. And on this case, I get x equals 9. Okay, number 14. Remember, the short side, here's our two sides. Take the short one, multiply it by 2. You do have to put it in parentheses because you'll have to do the distributive property and set it equal to the long side. So I'm going to distribute here. Okay. I'm going to move the 2x over here to get it with the 3x. And then I'm going to add 4 on both sides. I'll do one more like that, number 15. Remember, take the short side, and don't look at the numbers, look at which side is on the short side. You multiply it by 2, equal it to the long side, distribute, we'll move this x over here with this 4x, and then I want to subtract 48. And then divide by 3. And it is okay to get a negative number for x as long as x is just not the length of the side. Okay, I've got one other kind of problem I want to show you. It's very similar to the ones we just did. It says find the missing length though. Notice up here it said solve for x. Here it says find the missing length. So the difference here is you find x, but then you have to go back and plug it in to find the final answer here. So you're going to take the short side, multiply by 2, equal it to the long side just like we did, multiply it out. So 4x minus 14 equals 2x minus 2. Subtract 2x on both sides. Add 14. Divide by 2. And you get x equals 8. Now, because the question said find ML, you're not finished. So what you do is you figure out, okay, ML is here, so that means I'm using this one. So then I take 8 and plug it back in for there. So 2 times 8 minus 7. So 16 minus 7, which is 9. And so 9 is your answer. All right, we'll do one more just like that, and then we'll be done. So on number 18, remember, take the short side, multiply by 2 to get the long side. Multiply here. Right, subtract x on both sides. Subtract 54. Oops, that should be 30. Divide by 3. Now, because the problem said find Km, then I come over here. Okay, Km is here. That means I'm using this one. And I'm going to plug the x right back into that. So I'll have negative 10 plus 24, which is 14, and 14 is my answer.